All right, Kev, it's a Monday, not a Sunday.
It's a Monday. I
Oh,
love my wife. Wow, we were mentioning Christine in the first 10 seconds. She's an educator. She keeps on bringing up how awesome 3-day weekends are.
mm,
And uh, the best part of the 3-day weekend is not the Friday, it's the fact that it cuts the work week
oh yeah.
short.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just talked to another teacher today, and we were both like 4-day week. Let's go, baby. Yeah. And
It
we love teaching
accelerates.
kids. It's awesome. It's just
Yeah.
like,
And
coming
then
back
with
from summer, 5-day weeks are
Well, like with Labor Day, week one of the NFL happens
yeah.
right. You get college football, like
Yep.
you're out of school Friday and you're a high school, you're in a high school. So you get Friday night lights on Friday, you get
Yep.
college football on Saturday, you get NFL on Sunday.
Yep.
Is there anything better?
Except for this year, what's even more interesting is there's NFL on Friday.
Oh yeah.
There's a game in Brazil. So I'm not sure the high school Friday Night Lights are going to beat it for me. But
Yeah.
the other thing
Yeah.
that it is it's the first day of school for a lot of kids tomorrow, including my two children. So
Oh wow.
I may give a little warning. Who knows what noises you'll hear out of this house tonight? Usually they're great. Like I went downstairs, they're like, "Aren't you podcasting?" So they like totally
Oh,
are
so
on.
they're like, this is part of the routine.
Yep, they're on board. They get it. They're watching an X-Men movie. But our dog just ate a piece of cake, which isn't good. And who knows what the kids are going to come up with because,
Uh,
they got some new shoes today, though. So they're feeling
That's the
fresh.
best part of this.
Oh,
Are they Nikes? Did they both go with the Nikes or are they about the three
no,
stripe life?
yeah. Well, they vary it up, but Lincoln has some Adidas that he got, some casual skate Adidas. He does not skate, but
Yeah,
whatever. And he's gonna balance those with some Jordans that he bought with his own money last year.
there you
So,
go.
and then Felix always convinces me into something. So he got some New Balances, which is a nice look with a
Kawhi
uniform.
Leonard,
And
DeJounte
they're not
Murray.
Kawhi Leonard's. They're like they're like the regular New Balances, like dad's wear, but like he's pulling
Yeah,
them off. But then he convinced me he needed some Sabrina ones for basketball
he's
because they
very
were on
persuasive.
sale. They were like half off. They're like lemonade colored. Oh man, he's feeling good. Although he brought him home and Lincoln's like, those are so ugly. So immediate brother reaction is great. They got
uh,
haircuts today. I mean, it's the whole school year thing. We waited till the last day, Labor Day, got it
yeah.
done.
So they're raving,
They're
raves for
ready
the
to roll.
shoes,
They're raving for the shoes.
raving for the shoes.
You know what? They're not even ranting about school because we set them up for success.
Yeah,
So that leads us right in, though. We're going to do a segment today called Rave and Rant.
rant and
Um,
rave, rave and rant.
yeah, Rants and Rave, I think, is more. Here, Kev, I want to give you some examples
Yeah,
for the listeners.
yeah.
So if people write into newspapers like the Seattle Times and they'll rant and rave because people don't have enough to do.
And they still have that section of the
They
newspaper.
still have it. You can look up any day. You can
Wait,
go
do
back
you get a physical paper
on Sundays only.
on Sundays only? And there's a
Yeah.
rant and rave in sports, or are there
I
rant
don't,
and
I
raves
actually don't
in?
read it. I look online for all my news. So my wife likes it. She
Yeah,
likes the Sunday features and things.
yeah,
Also, Seattle Times makes it very hard to cancel. You have to call, and nobody wants to call. So
yeah. And then they'll cut off like a few bucks.
yeah, and then
Like,
they cut off
stay
your
on.
right, and then digital access, right? Obviously matters to
Yeah,
as a sports fan and a fake journalist. Okay,
yeah.
here's a rant recently from the Seattle Times, so people know what we're looking at. Rant to a local sports organization that added a $30 surcharge to my season ticket fee because I do not own a smartphone and they had to print out paper tickets for me. So
They
love those kind
probably
of rants.
sent that via snail mail.
Oh,
Probably
100%. That was
but
not on a computer.
handwritten with a
Yep.
stamp.
Yep. And Seattle Times printed it. Good for them. Rave. These are the kind of raves you get in Seattle Times. Rave to John Foster from Mix 96.1. I sent him some totally wrong, incomplete lyrics, and he still found the song I was looking for.
There you go.
Like, how excited is that person? They were like, you know what? That was such a good moment of my week. I'm going to write in the Seattle Times about that. I don't know if ours will be better or worse. And they're mostly mine because I just wanted to share some of my rants and raves. All right, I'm going to start with a rave. I'm going to go positive. Especially you told me there's people who don't want us to talk about the Mariners because it makes them sad. So we're going to start with a rave. Totally random. but I texted you about this.
Yes.
Ashton Jeanty, Boise State University.
Yeah.
He ran for 267 yards and 6 touchdowns. Are you kidding me?
That's like, I don't know if I could even pull that off in college football 2025.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Those are video game numbers. That's insane. That's insane. And I started seeing like I think he's a legit NFL prospect as a running back. So
here's the best part of this. Boise State's opponent next week, Oregon. And Oregon struggled against Idaho. So
that's fascinating.
So
I want to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. And 14 points against Idaho. I don't know how much you're giving up against Boise State. So let's fire it up.
If Ashton runs for 150 next week
in 3 touchdowns.
Oh, it'll be amazing. All right. Moving to my rant. I went to the Storm game Friday night. As you know, I like to go to Seattle sports, and they were playing the Liberty. And I'm not going to rant about the Storm, even though I could, because they had one good quarter and the rest was garbage. I'm going to rant about Climate Pledge Arena, which is a great arena. There's 2 things. One, have you ever been there, by the way?
Yes, I've seen the Kraken play there.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So Kraken is going to be different than this for my second part, but the first part will be the same. When you go in the entrances, the different entries, and they're all numbered and they do a good job telling you which one to go into, it's such a bottleneck to get in. Like it's weird. And the doors are super randomly heavy. There's just some weird old man grumbling I got here. So that's a small one. That's a small one.
I think the Key Arena was the same way though. There were the 2 big entrances and everything would funnel in there.
Yeah. And they
what time did you arrive though? I'm not going to let you get away with this rant without
we were there a little late.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I can't remember why, but we were late. Fair enough. All right. That one is small. Second one. My wife is really hungry when we get there. She'd coached that day. She's a girls soccer coach. She's ready to roll. I'm like, Shaq's Chicken is right inside this entrance, and Shaq's chicken sandwiches are a solid concession.
Yes, I've had it.
Closed. Nobody in there.
Oh, they closed it for the WNBA season?
Yeah, it's just closed for this game. There's 15,000 people there, Kev. There's 15,000 people at the Liberty game.
Yeah.
And that's closed. I look, so I'm like, okay, I know we can go down to Din Tai Fung downstairs. Guess what? Super second rant. Din Tai Fung gone from Climate Pledge.
They axed it.
This is the 3rd stadium in Seattle they have left. They left T-Mobile first, and then Lumen, and now Climate Pledge.
They've probably realized they, 1, aren't making any money, or 2, the product's bad and they don't want to damage the product.
Yeah, it makes sense, but not for me, because I like to get those, like the little pot stickers with the chili oil or the chicken fried rice. It's just so a go-to. Good. And you could walk in and you could grab it and go. It was one of the grab and go places. So that's gone.
So you had to go 3rd option. What'd you?
No, I'm keep going, Kev. I'm not done. So then I go, okay, it looks like a nice little fish and chips place. There's 2 people standing inside. What are they doing? There's no food. Why are they in there? These people are getting paid to just stand by no food. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So the overall rant is Climate Pledge. Can we hire people and open food for a WNBA game? Can we care about women's sports? My shirt says everyone watches women's sports. We're watching. 15,000 people are there.
But we're starving.
God, it was brutal. It's brutal. I don't even know what I ate, Kevin. I don't even remember. Okay. Here's my rant.
Upset customer. All right.
By the way, this is what the people love. All right, Rave, back to college football.
Yeah.
How about the Miami tight end, Cam McCormick?
Yeah.
You know this story. I'm sure you do.
So when did he start playing college football?
He's in his 9th year. So 2016.
There's
or
probably
2015.
And it's 2024.
Yeah, it's his 9th year. He's the first person they think in college football history to play 9 years. Now, obviously, he hasn't played all 9 years. And I read, I deep dove a little bit. Like, he's had some awful injuries and awful surgeries and pins coming out where are not supposed to in his foot and all this stuff. He caught a touchdown this week.
Incredible.
It was super cool. From
Cam Ward,
who I am on the bandwagon.
He shouted out. Someone asked him about how is it playing in the swamp in front of 90,000 people? And he basically just brushed the question off and said, you know, that wasn't anything, which one pissed off an entire fan base, right? Yep. And then two, he was like, the Pac-12. There's some loud stadiums. I played at Oregon. I played at USC, and I played at Husky Stadium, and Husky Stadium gets loud. That's one of the loudest places I've ever been. So even if he's a former Coug, shout out.
I'm on board. Cam Ward, and I watched him. He's got swag. He's balling.
Yeah.
Like Cam Ward's going to play and be good in the NFL.
Here's the thing I'm wondering about Cam McCormick.
Yeah.
Okay. The average student at a college, okay, you know, if you do it the right way, you can graduate in 4 years, do your undergrad studies, okay? Sometimes it takes an undergrad because of classes. If you're at a public university, maybe it takes 5 years to get all the classes you need for your major, okay? Okay, let's say 5 years he's there, okay, for his undergrad. 6 years, he does a master's. A master's program is usually only a year.
Yep.
Let's say he does education. It was a year. So now we're at 6 years. That means 3 more years. Did he rack up 3 more master's degrees? Like,
okay, I knew where you're going with this question, and I didn't know the answer, so I just Googled it. He has a bachelor's in journalism, and he has a master's already in advertising and brand responsibility from Oregon, which irony. And he's now doing post-baccalaureate studies at Miami, which means he's not doing anything. He's going to one class. He should be getting a PhD. My guy should be getting a PhD. Now, to his credit, he said, why wouldn't you want to keep playing if you could, right? He's like, I can be a grown-up later. And that's awesome. Like,
and he's gonna show up with a resume that does like 3 degrees.
So yes, he'll have 3 degrees.
Okay.
And he'll be known, right? I mean, part of it's who you know and getting in the door. So, like, who knows? He'll probably be a Barstool podcaster by the end of this. I don't know if he's interesting to talk to, but all right, Cam McCormick. All right, Rant. A quick fantasy team story. I've drafted now in 3 leagues.
Yeah.
How about you?
2. Well,
okay.
I had your
league. Another one?
I had our league, and then then I had a keeper league 2 days later.
Do you have any more coming up? Are you done?
No, I'm done. I keep it
done.
to 2.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we have one at my school with the teachers that I started a few years back to welcome new people in the community.
Yeah.
Including people friends of yours.
Yeah.
It was great. We expanded to 14. We needed 2 more this year because there's new people. It's very nice. Let's do it. I got towards the end of the draft. 14 teams is tough, right?
Yeah.
It's tough. I'm feeling okay about my team. I set my queue, and my dog's kind of going crazy. The kids are in the room. Kids are super like, let me draft. They're cool. I'm like, I got to take this dog for a walk. So I set my queue for kickers.
Right? So you're in round 15 by now, or rounds. You're late.
The question is, I don't know what round I'm in, but I thought I did. So I thought there was 1 round left. I had already got a defense, I think. Yeah.
Did you get 3 kickers?
Kev? And I set my queue for kickers, and I put a bunch in there. And there were 3 rounds left. And when I came home with the dog, my boys, who are well-trained, said, Dad, I think you drafted like 4 players while you were gone. We heard that ding, that little ding that goes off. I'm like, no, there's 1 round left. I look at my roster. I have 3 kickers on my roster.
The best part is last week we were talking about how we love kicker leagues.
Oh, dude. 3 kickers. Now, I am proud of myself. I've already flipped one of those kickers in a trade.
No way.
Yes, sir.
Are you preying on a new member of your family?
Oh, no. You get on your text thread with your good friends and you ask who traded for Young Hoo Koo. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know who it is.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
yeah.
my God. Okay.
Now, I got a backup tight end, which might be my starting tight end. So
both of those players will be dropped week 1. So
and then I dropped 1 kicker. I'm down to 1 now. So we're rolling. But man, it was rough because the waiver wire was gross. I picked 14 up this
teams.
Dude from Cincinnati who played at Princeton. He's like their 4th receiver. He should not be owned in fantasy leagues. This is how gross it is. All because I took 3 kickers. So that's and that's a rant on myself. That's not a rant on
so both of these rants are on you. The Climate Pledge Arena, you showed up late. All right, let's see.
Wow. Okay. All right, real quick, Rave. I want to see what your reaction is because you're you killed it last week with all your Husky previews.
Yeah.
You're all in on the Huskies. What'd you think of? So Lincoln Kennedy's done games before,
Yeah.
but Big Ten Network broadcast. Everyone's all pissed about Comcast. Shout out Fubo. It was great.
Yeah.
Jake Butt. I thought he was good.
So I am so. My reaction to that is I think he was good too. I don't have like I think he reached the threshold of like I can handle him because sometimes it's very obvious if these guys don't do their research.
Yeah.
And I want to make a broader point about the Big Ten Network like experience. I thought it was just better than the Pac-12 network. And I can't peg why. Yeah. I think like the quality was better in terms of like the camera and like the production quality, but I can't peg exactly like what made it better. It just felt better. And maybe I'm just saying that because I want to feel good about it. But
no, I think, I mean, everyone knew the Pac-12 network sucked. Like,
yeah,
it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I mean, it's crazy. There's 18 teams. I had the Big Ten network on basically all day long.
Yeah. They couldn't even fit all the game. I mean, Rutgers was on Thursday. Yeah. I think Minnesota was on Thursday or Friday as well. It's crazy. I'm putting together power rankings like, dude, 18 teams. I'm like making my own top 25 ranking.
You are. You totally are. I'll tell you who's at the bottom. The only team that lost.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if they're at the bottom because they played a decent team, but Minnesota's the only team that lost, right?
Yeah. I didn't drop them all the way down because they did play a decent team. So
fair enough. All right. Here's a rant you're not gonna like, I don't think.
Oh, I want to hear it.
All right, Husky football fans. I feel like I'm a Husky fan. I did not go to UW, so I feel like I could disassociate sometimes.
Yeah.
Fair or unfair. I feel like there's a lot of like bragging about how good the stadium atmosphere is.
Yeah.
And they had supposedly 65,000 fans at that game. They showed an overhead shot. There were not 65,000 fans.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And here's my rant. You can't, and this may never happen in Seattle because there's a lot to do and it's different. But if you're in the Big Ten now, the difference is striking because it used to be you'd flip to a UCLA game and no one's there either. You'd flip to a Cal game and there's only people there are protesting in the trees, right? Like nobody's there. Now you flip to Michigan and there's 110,000, right? You flip to Wisconsin and it's insane.
Yeah.
I just think that the home field advantages of these other schools is going to be better.
Yeah. So I disagree with it because I think packed Husky Stadium, even though it's a little smaller, it's hella loud in there. And I think there was talk, someone came out with a ranking. I think it was College Football 2025 ranked the top 25 most difficult places to play, and Husky Stadium was nowhere to be found. Obviously,
but are we just fair weather? Because
no, I'm biased.
They just
and I'm
came
homer.
off a national championship appearance despite the turnover.
Yeah,
and they don't sell out the stadium.
It's okay. So there's the counterpoints are it's Weber State, which I think is not as strong as a point because everyone is playing
Michigan's playing Fresno
teams.
State.
Yeah. Fresno State, though, is a lot different than Weber State. Okay. The second point, and I think this is the more important point, is the game was at 8:00.
That's true.
And college football at 8:00 is a lot different than college football at 12:30. So amongst my friends that have season tickets, about a third of the people went to that game. One of it, I think it's Weber State. We can just watch it on TV, and two, it's like an 8:00 game.
Yeah.
And I looked to see if we're gonna have Washington's gonna have another 8:00 kick. And among the TBDs, it's like Michigan's a TBD, USC's a TBD, and those are obvious, right? Those are gonna be primetime games, so I don't think those are gonna be 8:00. But I think there's gonna be another 8:00 game, and it's gonna be Northwestern. There's a possibility. And the reason why they do this is because it's the West Coast. You can push that game really late.
Totally. Yep.
So Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC are going to get some of these games against the lower tier Big Ten opponents.
Yeah, there's no way they were going to put anybody else at the 8:00.
So I really want to see, though, if people show up and school will be in session too. Yep. If the Northwestern game is going to be similar to what we saw with
Northwestern will be interesting. I think it will tell us two things, right? What's the crowd like size?
Yeah.
And then does Northwestern feel like it's loud? They haven't played in Seattle probably in
Yeah.
100 years or something. I don't know how long.
And it's funny that you bring that up because the storyline for Northwestern wasn't the actual game. It was the
Right.
temporary stadium, which we talked about earlier,
So
which
cool.
was
It was so cool.
beautiful.
It
It was like a
so
high school
cool.
stadium on the lake.
We were
which was
totally
like,
making fun of it, and it was
it
awesome.
looked cool.
Yes, it looked cool.
Okay. Let's
I
end on
think
a high note. Rave.
we're gonna end on a high note because I have, yeah, I'm gonna rave. And to go to the people who text you and get mad about,
Yeah.
I'm gonna rave about the Mariners. I'm gonna rave about Bryce Miller, dude. Bryce Miller. I mean Brian Wu also, but like those two. I mean, they're just awesome. I don't care what else happens. The Mariners are not making the playoffs. It's okay. It's fine. I don't know. Trade Luis Castillo in the offseason. Let's build around Wu and Miller, and then Gilbert and Kirby can be along for the ride, dude. Miller's stash and his hair and his swag. Bryce Miller is just my favorite. I want to watch him every time now. Like Gilbert was pitching today, I was like, eh. Castillo's pitching tomorrow, I'm like, eh. When Bryce Miller's pitching, I'm in.
Yeah. A prospect that panned out for the Mariners, prospect that's cool. And just contrast that with like Jared Kelenic. Like Jared Kelenic never really performed well. That's one thing, but his attitude and just left a sour taste. And I think that the vibe is what you're kind of getting at. Like you get good vibes from Bryce Miller.
Dude. And I love that like Miller and Wu and Gilbert and Kirby. Castillo seems like he has some other friends on the team, but those four are like hanging out all the time and talking pitching and like I'm gonna go positive. Like that's awesome. Yeah,
good teammates. They could at any point have complained about the production that they've been getting, and good for them.
Yep. All right, Kev. Let's segment transition here to a little over under. People liked this last week. I don't know if you got any responses, but I had some friends who like, you know what? I liked our over under segment. I'm like, okay.
All right, we're keeping it.
Yeah, we'll do shorter this time. We got a few over unders. I'm going to throw at you, and I want you to go over under. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Julio's been better. We're going to go back to, we're going to stick with the Mariners.
Yeah.
6 games rest of the week.
Yeah.
Over under 1.5 home runs.
Ooh, I think he gets another one. I think he does get another one.
Well, he's got to have 2.
First A's, I know. And they play the A's and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The Cardinals on the road or at home?
Both are on the road.
Okay, I'm going to go over.
All right, so he's got to hit 2 home runs in 6 games. Seems reasonable.
I think 1, he has no pressure now because I think the team understands that they're out and they've given up. And 2, Edgar's like helped him out a little bit. So I'm going to go over, and it's on the road. So over.
All right, so we have something to look forward to with Julio.
Yeah.
But how about the team?
No.
6 games, A's,
no way.
Cardinals.
There's no way.
Over, under 4.5 wins.
You could set the line lower. And
all right, I'm going to set he's so mad right now. Hold on, Kev. Okay, 4.5 wins. You're under.
I knocked my headphones out because I was so upset.
What if I lower it to 3.5?
No, they're gonna win like 2 or 3. They're gonna win 3 games. There's just no way. Like they suck. They know they suck. They've given up. It had nothing to do with the manager.
It didn't. Although I think Edgar's helpful for some reason.
Yeah, no,
maybe it's just Julio. Like if Edgar can fix Julio, all the firing is worth it.
Yeah.
And
they found themselves in these 1-run games, and what was Scott Service good at? Winning these 1-run games. Like
not this year though. Neither Scott Service or Dan Wilson. They bring in an average reliever who gives up a walk off over and over and over.
Yeah.
So anyway, RIP to the Mariners season.
Yeah.
All right, Jewell Loyd. This is a tricky one for you. The Storm play, I think, 3 games this week.
Yeah. The Sun.
They play Liberty again.
And then they travel back. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Over under. Missed 11.5 threes. 11.5 missed threes. Over under.
That means 4 missed threes per game. Has she been jacking them up? It seems like she's been jacking them up. Man, you're really good at setting these lines.
Oh, thank you. Well, I did some research on this one. So
I'm gonna go over because I think she's gonna be they're gonna be playing from behind against New York and Connecticut. So I'm gonna
Kev, this is gonna go to my greater point about Jewell Loyd, who is a heck of a scorer.
Yeah.
Here's Jewell Loyd's 3-point numbers since the break. 2 for 8, 2 for 6, 0 for 4, 2 for 7, 5 for 8. Nice job. 2 for 9, 3 for 8.
Yeah, she's totally going to go over.
Yeah. She scores points.
Yeah.
She's gone over 25 out of 7 games since coming back.
Yeah.
She can't shoot the ball this year. For whatever reason, she's shooting 27.7% from 3, 36% from the field overall. And this is part of the why the Seattle Storm are not very good. They need Jewell Loyd to be a true alpha superstar.
Well, it's really interesting because Agumamike, did I pronounce it right?
Sure.
And who's the other forward?
Eze Magabor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their efficiency numbers are both top 10 in the WNBA.
Yep.
I think Lloyd is like in the top 20.
How could she be in the top 20 efficiency? She can't shoot.
It wasn't efficiency, it was consensus wins. So it turned
what they're worth. Yeah.
What they're worth. It turned their efficiency numbers and it took that into account. So yeah. The point's well taken.
I'm disappointed in the Storm.
Yeah, you got to give her the ball though in the fourth quarter.
2-6.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 2-5.
Yeah.
Since the Olympic break.
Yeah.
They play, like you said, the Connecticut and Liberty the next 2 games.
Those are tough games.
And I think the Fever are going to catch them for the 5 spot, and I think the Storm are going to finish in the 6 spot. The Fever are awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just disappointing. They're just disappointing right now.
Yep.
I don't want to linger on it, but they're too disappointing.
Yeah.
Speaking of disappointing, Kev. over under. Sounders and Rain. Yeah. Each one game this week, one match.
Yeah.
2.5 points.
Oh.
So you being the soccer fan that you are, 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. So if they both draw, you don't go over.
So one of them needs to win.
One of them, but only one. Rain played Louisville. Nope, they just played Louisville. They won. My bad. The Sounders play Columbus. I know that the Columbus crew.
No, they're not beating Columbus and they're not tying.
On the road, too.
That's
right?
a loss.
So they're probably not. Although they seem to pull it off every time you think they won't. Oh, yeah. You know who the Rain are playing? They're playing Angel City FC.
Who's bad? So I think
right close in the standings. And the Rain are, Kev, they're sneaky good with their new players.
Yeah, I think the Rain win. I think they beat Angel City. So I'm going to go over.
Let's go. I went to the Rapino. We talked about this last week.
Yeah.
And Howell, their acquisition, was the best player on the field when she came on. So I'm happy for that. They just acquired another defender today. And you texted me about the trade deadline. And I thought it was August 31st, but it keeps going. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. One more over under. How about Coleman? Your Russian Huskies.
This guy is awesome.
999.5 rushing yards for the year.
Yeah. I think over.
Okay, so he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing.
Big Ten defenses are no joke.
Yep.
But there are some defenses that are a joke, and the Huskies have them on their schedule.
There are some defenses that are a joke. That was awesome.
He could rip off 200 rushing yards against like a Northwestern. I could see it happening. I could see it happening against USC. I could see it happening against UCLA. Like, you think about it, you rip off a 200-yard game, you're a fifth of your way there, right? Like, that's
and also,
2 games of 100
what do
yards.
they play 12 regular season games.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's already got 100.
And here's the other thing.
Did you know he was the first Husky? You know this.
Yeah.
First Husky running back since 1960 in their debut to have 100 yards rushing.
I love when they come up with statistics like that because they forced some student to like go and find like wherever that was.
That is true. Also, I just want them to give me the next 4 so I can make it a top 5 on our podcast. And I can't look up through every single opener in the history of Husky football. There's way too many.
Also the first Husky football running back to wear a grill during the game.
Yeah, he is so. I was watching with my wife, and I have a tendency to say the same thing the announcer says right at that time. And I said, he's like a bowling ball. And the announcer goes, he's a bowling ball. She was a little freaked out on that one. I'm like, but look at him. He looks like a bowling ball. Like,
Christine loves it. I always go, they should hire me. Right when I say something in the announcer, it's like, they should hire me. The last thing about Coleman, he was in his post-game interview, like they're asking him the cliche questions, and then at the end of the interview, he just goes, "Have a good day," like,
Yes,
and
that
he
was
runs
good.
off.
I want a shirt. Didn't you tweet that?
Have a good day.
I want a shirt with his like bowling ball torso in the silhouette, and it says "Have a good day."
He is probably the person in Seattle. I think even with the Seahawks players, if something or someone was running at me full speed, I would want to avoid him. Like, I think that
fair.
would be the top.
Oh, totally. Yeah, he's over the Seahawks running backs, I think.
Like, there's no cushion on him. It's just,
oh my God, no, I'm not coming near him. So he ran for 127 yards. That's a good start for 1,000. Yeah. I brought it up too. I was going to come up with a top 5 about it, but it's too difficult. But this was interesting. So Dylan Johnson ran for 1,000 last year.
Yeah.
Probably not surprising to people. Before that, they did not have 1,000-yard rusher the 3 seasons before that. So part of that was bad. Part of that was COVID. So the top rusher only had 43 carries.
Yeah.
It was 2019. It was Salvon Ahmed. I think he's from Juanita High School.
Yeah.
He had a great year. And then they had a string where it was 11 out of 12 years they had 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, they were, I mean, the Sark years, they had like Chris Polk, Bishop Sankey.
Yep, you hit 2 of them. And then the big one, Myles Gaskin, 4 years in a row. That's, I mean, 4 Apple Cups. How good Myles Gaskin was. He had a season with 21 rushing touchdowns. Like,
he's really good.
I'll tell you what, Kev, I watched him play in high school at O'Day.
Yeah.
Against our Seattle Prep Panthers, and it was crazy. Myles Gaskin was nasty. Let me tell you.
Especially around a team that just runs the same offense.
Oh, they're running the ball. Yeah. The only time they've really thrown the ball, there's 2 times. People will actually like this. Taylor Mays, former safety for USC and the Cincinnati Bengals, they would throw fades to Taylor Mays because he was like 6'5" and could go get it. And then they threw a little bit when Paolo Banchero played quarterback for them as a freshman.
Oh, wow.
So they had a quarterback. I don't remember his name, but they were good. This might have even overlapped Gaskin for all I know. Probably not. And Paolo played football only his freshman year, and they would bring him in for like a quarter. And everybody's like, this guy. I mean, he probably would have gone to the NFL. He's insane, but he stopped playing and played basketball and went to the NBA. So, your life's so rough, Paolo. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's our first O'Day shout out. Shout out to O'Day and everyone that listens that went to O'Day, because you probably don't hear it that much here because we're both Seattle Prep people.
I don't have any beef with O'Day. I'm fine. I'm fine with O'Day. Good job, O'Day. Way to produce Myles Gaskin, Paolo Banchero, and Taylor Mays, among others. All right. We did it. That was good. Over-unders. Kev's over on Coleman. I always want to call him Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, me too. It's one of those names where you want to say
his name is Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, no, it is. But you always want to say, like, I don't want to call him Coleman. Like, you always want to say, like,
is there a Javon Coleman?
No, we had a Lavon Coleman.
That's who I'm thinking of. He's a running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's throwing me off. Yep. All right. Well, Kev, you're probably pretty excited about the Huskies.
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
I got some hot takes.
Are they hot takes or are they more lukewarm takes?
I'm going to give you the temperature before I give you the take. Kev, for reference, Kev texted me and said, we should do some Brian's hot takes in the Husky game. And so I rolled with it. But the first one, I think the first one's like you put, a take-home pizza in the oven, you pull it out, and you got to let it cool, right? So it's hot. Like if
like
you
a Papa John's is what you're talking about.
Well, like, you can get one from PCC, you can get one from QFC, you can get like a nice take-home pizza. And if you eat it too fast, it's got to burn your mouth. So this is pretty hot.
Yeah.
I think it's hot.
Okay.
I think Prysock, the corner, is the top NFL prospect on the roster.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah, your reaction was like you ate some pizza that was too hot.
I don't know who else is the NFL prospect because the dude is tall, lanky.
I know. This is where I started to like maybe it's not that hot.
I think he's one of the. I think you might be right.
Like, is he just the top prospect? And that's not.
I mean, Coleman is like really good.
What draft
Yeah,
it'll be? 2025? Is that the draft it'll be?
yeah.
Let's
I
see what
think he's
NFL
better.
draft buzz says.
I
Kev,
I
you
would
know it's
love
my
to say he's
favorite
better
buzz.
than Jabbar Muhammad, but that site says Jabbar Muhammad's the number one prospect in the
Jonah
but
Coleman is there's only two players ranked. Price Lock's
yeah,
not one of them. Although Price Lock may not be eligible for the draft yet for
yeah.
2025.
So but Coleman's on there?
Coleman's on there and Will Rogers, and Will Rogers is 361 overall,
Yeah, so he's
which
like
isn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What year's Price Lock?
Prysock is I should know this, maybe a
Yeah,
sophomore?
don't you preview everything? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's look him up.
Prysock.
He's
And he
a
came from
junior. He's a
Arizona.
junior, so he's eligible. He could go.
Yeah. I think he's gonna all these guys now, which is what's great about the Big Ten, is there's no excuse for like the exposure thing. And I never know how real the exposure thing is. And I think there's still an issue because the Huskies are playing games at
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
Whew.
But
Yeah.
if Prysock in prime time, like stops some of these receivers, he's gonna vault up really quickly.
Yeah.
So that would be the hotter take is like how fast will it take for him to vault up, these leaderboards. But yeah,
So here's what the Huskies
you were
need.
impressed.
The Huskies
impressed by
need
Price
to
Hawk.
be 5-0. They need to go beat Northwestern at home, beat Rutgers on a Friday night nationally televised game, and
Yeah.
then have a Michigan game that's, then even if it's at 9 a.m. in Seattle and they play it in that prime spot somewhere that is people can watch. Not that Michigan's gonna really throw the ball that much, but Price Hawk is good. Like he's just tall. He was just they're all their DBs impressed me, but I thought he might be the best.
Yeah, and this is all. It's hard to. It's still hard. I mean, we've seen the team play a full game against another team that's trying their hardest to beat them, but it's an FCS team, right? So like all of these conclusions we're making, even about Coleman, right? Like you just don't know how good, right? Like how good. We know they're not bad, right? So I think that's my only like 100% like conclusion from last week is like they're not bad, which is a relief because they could have been bad.
Totally. Yeah, it could have been Montana.
Yeah.
Where they lost under Jimmy Lake. Okay, my second take is lukewarm. It's like when you put a chicken pot pie in the microwave, reheat it, and the middle's a little bit cold.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Munoz is a cursed name in this city.
Oh.
So I added a little spice to it. So Andres Munoz is disappointing lately, right? He's obviously had a great first half, but man, this was coming off of him blowing the game on Saturday night. And then I watched the Huskies. Weber State's quarterback, who doesn't deserve to have his first name said here, Munoz.
Yeah.
Whoo, baby, is he bad.
Yeah. Which was like the press on him was like he led his team to 3 straight victories to end the season last year. And maybe I should have looked at the opponents that he played because he didn't find anything. Couldn't find anything.
Right. And this isn't totally a Husky hot take, but it's related to the first one because those DBs looked awesome. So maybe they are awesome and Munoz isn't bad.
Yeah. It's kind of like in college basketball. This always happens in non-conference where you maybe lose a game against like a average, like a kind of a mid-major team.
Right.
And then you get to the tournament and the mid-major team is qualified for the NCAA tournament. And you're like, okay, they weren't that bad, right? Like, so maybe this is the Huskies. We're going to figure out that, the secondaries actually ended up being really, really, really good.
We'll find out. Maybe Munoz will shred somebody next week. All right. Third one. This one's hot. This is going to burn you. Should Damon Williams be the starting quarterback?
Oh, that is hot.
Or I guess if I wanted to make it a hot take, I would say he should be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's even hotter. Absolutely not. Will Rod experience counts for something. Experience in the SEC counts for something. Making mistakes in the past and learning from the mistakes count for something. And I think that's like the experience point. I think the most realistic thing is they create packages for him and it becomes kind of like a Taysom Hill thing where but you have to mix it up, right? You can't just bring him in and like run like Wildcat. Like, and I'm
He could
not saying,
throw. He could
yeah, no, no,
throw.
no. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that he can't throw,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he can't be like a two. He has to be doing more than just,
Yeah.
we have to be unpredictable, right? And it's kind of nice knowing that you have a backup freshman quarterback that can ball.
Do
And
you
my
think
hope is that he gets even more time to play against Eastern Michigan.
do you think him among 9 total true freshmen who played, and Jed Fish was asked about this, and he's
Yeah.
like, well, the plan's not really to redshirt him.
Yeah.
Is this the transfer portal? Like, you got to play kids early, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to go. Like, is that, or is it
Or
just
I think it's
this
also like,
team because of who they are?
yeah, burning the red shirts doesn't matter anymore because
Right.
like a kid could just transfer. So like you just play them as much as possible or as much as you think it's possible. But I think also the that the players themselves have to understand that like there is an element of like learning and being patient and getting your spots. I mean, like Damon Williams, like what if he could have played. He played the entire fourth quarter, which I think was great.
A little more, right? He
A
came in,
little
I
more. He
think, at
played
the
like
end of
the
the
end of the
third, which
third
surprised
quarter.
me. The game wasn't like
It
crazy. It
was
was,
28-3.
I didn't think that they were going
Yeah,
to lose, but it
yeah,
wasn't like they were up by 60.
yeah,
So I think you're right. He might come in some packages. I think the danger is, so Will Rogers, I am wait and see. I
yeah.
just think I like his poise. He works well within designed plays. I'm curious how well he sees the field and can make all
Explosive
the
plays.
on all the
Yeah,
throws. Right now, we're coming
yeah.
off Michael Penix, who had, that was my
It's
argument
yeah.
why
We
he
need
should
to
be drafted.
we need to readjust our eyes. I think we really do because uh, the ceiling of Will Rogers is probably uh like like a little worse than Bo Nix, right? Like kind of like just executing throws and not necessarily like Michael Penix, right? Like Michael Penix.
Right.
Now we're understanding how good Michael Penix was after
I told
watching this,
people,
right?
and
Like
this is my thing. I'm not
yeah,
an NFL expert, but
yeah,
they can't predict quarterbacks. They can never figure out who can be good and who can't. They always think
yeah,
somebody's going to draft it. I'm like, Penix has all the throws. That's the thing. Like, if he can throw the deep out, he could throw over the middle, he could throw the screen, like anything you want him to do,
he'll
he
be
had.
able.
Whereas like
Yeah,
Bo Nix doesn't have all the throws,
yeah,
even if he's super efficient. So I think when you talk about ceiling, I'm curious. I just think Damon Williams might have a higher ceiling, and maybe that's what the Huskies need. But I don't,
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah,
That was a hot take, though. I gave you some
yeah. That
hot,
was a really
I
hot take,
gave you
and
some blue talkie take.
yeah,
Oh, can I tell you
yeah,
something?
yeah,
At South Center Mall today, we had lunch, my youngest son and I.
yeah.
And we got Korean rice dogs. Have you ever had a Korean rice dog?
Those are like all right, I've had Korean hot dogs where
It's
they like
basically
put
that. It's like
everything on there, like Cheetos and
yeah,
stuff.
it's
And
like
yeah,
a corn dog with something, or it's a cheese dog with something on the outside, right?
yeah,
A lot of times dipped in like a sugar. That's what Felix had.
yeah.
But they had a blue taki one, and I saw this dude get it, and this guy was so happy when he picked up his blue taki. I didn't get to see him eat it. I was really disappointed. He was so pumped for his blue taki Korean dog. It was awesome.
That's
So
what they need
shout.
a climate pledge.
I mean, I'm not
It
getting
would
it
have
because
destroyed your stomach.
I'd
But
be in the bathroom the whole time. All right, moving on.
that's a hot take.
Hot take. Okay.
Uh,
All right.
okay, I got to
Huskies, we're
say,
looking forward to
yeah,
it. Eastern Michigan.
yeah,
You got all kinds of previews coming out this week. It's gonna be awesome.
yeah. Let's move it. NFL Week 1,
Oh, I'm
Seahawks.
so excited.
So I want your reaction. So I scoured the web for Seahawks NFL predictions, and I
Ooh.
tell you, there's no shortage of these. Like it took me like a minute. I found
Yeah.
like 3 things that were published in the past 2 days, and they were like all different. There were all these creative ideas.
Love it.
So I'm gonna give you these takes. I got 4 of them. I'm
Okay,
gonna
I'm
tell
ready.
you who they're from, and then I'm gonna give the prediction, and then you're gonna tell me will this prediction come true, and then you can kind of let's do a likelihood
Okay.
right out of 100%. Okay.
Okay.
So the first is Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. He
Okay.
says Devin Witherspoon earns the highest coverage grade in the NFL among cornerbacks.
Man.
So in 2023, he had a 79.7 coverage grade, which was good for 17th best at this position.
I love this take. I told you when I went to practice, there's a different energy with Devin Witherspoon. He is, it's weird. He's in his second year, and without Bobby Wagner there, like he's the leader of that defense. Like he's the one hyping everybody up. I think Julian Love is probably the leader, right? But Witherspoon's energy and his, and people are excited about Reek Woolen, but I'm going to give this like a 75% chance.
Yeah.
Like I can't go I mean, there's so many good corners, right? You can't go in the 90s probably, but he's gonna be good. And I'm all in on the Seahawks defense.
So actually he at Illinois his senior year, Big Ten school, we're learning, right? 92.5 coverage grade in his final year, which they kind of like put that in the tier elite.
I think he'll be better too with this defense. Now, this is what I'm excited about, and I'll post about it this week. I got a preview talking about the Broncos and the Seahawks, but the way they'll have blitz packages will allow him to be more aggressive, which I think suits his nature.
Yeah.
Probably most corners, right? They're very aggressive, but he's just so quick and he hits hard, and McDonald wants to hit hard. Like Jaron Reed said today, they asked him about Mike McDonald, and he's like, this is no shade to anybody else, but we're back playing big boy football. Like we're hitting people. I was like, dang, that's a little shade, but also I'm excited about it. So
I hate like when people say that, it's like, regardless of what you're going to say next, you're crapping on the predecessors.
I can't wait. The whole basketball season, the girls that I coached last year are going to be like, no shade to last year, but we're so much better this year.
Okay. Okay, this one comes from Corbin Smith from Sports Illustrated Online.
Yeah. Corbin's great.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, not DK Metcalf, will lead Seattle in receptions.
I'm totally in on this as well. So Tyler Lockett is clearly hurt, and he's saying he's not, but he like doesn't practice, and he's older. So I think JSN is the other receiver with DK, and Lockett will be a great number 3 with Bobo. They'll use Laviska Shenault in some packages. I think JSN is going to have a huge year. I think DK will have a bigger overall statistical year. Yes. But JSN will have more catches. So I'm going to go 90%.
Okay, yeah. And I think I agree there because DK is going to be more, he's going to feast on like the Ryan Grubb offense where he's going to get like the bomb, right? Yeah. Or like the touchdown fade, right? Like he's going to get those types of plays. Yeah. JSN's going to get like the Jalen Polk, the Jalen McMillan plays, although I guess all those guys were kind of bombs. So
well, and like think about week 1. So you can read about this week, but Patrick Surtain is the best player on Denver's defense.
Yeah.
He shadows like half the time, and I'd guess he's going to line up against DK. Yeah. And let me tell you, the other corner, you got to read about it this week. They're going to throw to JSN on this guy.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tell you who it is. You got to read about it.
Yeah. Speaking of planning and offense.
Yep.
Tim Weaver from Sporting News. Ryan Grubb wins Assistant Coach of the Year, which I didn't know that was an award.
I just learned this today listening to a podcast. That was an award. So that's funny that you bring it up. That's like a 5%.
All right.
It's really low for me.
Okay.
I like it. Talk about hot takes. That's a good hot take.
Yeah.
This is what I heard on the podcast today. So Ben Johnson of the Lions, their O coordinator, who I wanted to be the Seahawks coach before I knew about Mike McDonald, is still the Lions coordinator. He should probably have a head coaching job. He's good. Yeah. He's never won it. And he's like 9-1 odds this year.
Oh, they have odds?
They do on FanDuel. You can go see it. And like the Lions are going to be awesome. I think. And I just think they're not going to get, although the new guys sometimes get some buzz. So part of it is like there's some other O coordinators, but second, it seems to always go to a defensive guy.
Interesting.
So people get enamored with like the great defense that comes out and shines. I don't know who that'll be this year, because the tricky part with the Seahawks is Mike McDonald. Like they're not going to give it to somebody else on the defensive staff, because he's running things. So
Yep.
I'm excited for what Grubb does. I'm not as excited as I am for McDonald's defense. So I'm going to go 5%, real low.
Yep. So credible sources. I think the first three were really good sports publications, credible authors. I don't know about this last one, and maybe this person's gonna get pissed off at me. Who cares? I've never heard of him. Ben Strauss from ClutchPoints.com. Seattle finishes with a 9-8 record, barely misses the playoffs.
That's not going to happen. The Seahawks are going to. I'm very tempted to say they're going to win 11. But I'm going to be conservative, and they're going to win 10. I would not be afraid, if I liked to visit a local establishment known as a casino, to go bet on the Seahawks to win the NFC West at plus 700.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a little crazy. The Niners are really, really, really good. But the Niners, man, I mean, what a wreck right now. Trent Williams holding out. McCaffrey's hurt. Purdy is in a contract year. They've lost defensive player. I don't know.
I've heard this in a couple different places now. The 49ers are kind of like, maybe it was Sherman on his podcast. I don't know who it was, but like the 49ers are kind of like turning into what the Seahawks were turning into post Super Bowl losses, where things started to just like slowly disintegrate. Like the pieces were still there, but things started to happen.
Yep.
Where,
But I think it happens. It's not unique to the Seahawks, right? The NFL structure with their cap is built in a way that you can't sustain excellence. That's why the Patriots and Bill Belichick are so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the Chiefs will be able to do it because Mahomes is so good.
Yeah.
But they haven't paid Purdy, the Niners, right? So when they pay Purdy and they just paid Ayuk, are they no longer going to pay Deebo Samuel? Like what happens to Christian McCaffrey in a year? And it's just different. It's harder. Yeah. That's what happened in the Seahawks. They had to pay Russell Wilson and they lacked talent on both sides. You have to hit on draft picks like crazy, and they didn't, right? And so, and the Patriots had Belichick and Brady, and they just did it. So I don't know who the closest now is to that kind of sustained excellence. I mean, probably, the Eagles have had it for a little bit. The Cowboys are always in the mix, but that's because
the Chiefs have ripped off.
The Chiefs. Besides them, because I talked about that with Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. That's why the NFL is awesome, is the parity to me.
Yeah.
Even though Mahomes is probably a favorite to win MVP, and the Chiefs, will they three-peat for the first time ever? No one's ever done it.
Yeah.
We just don't know. Like every year, 3 teams from each league get bounced from the playoffs and 3 new teams go in. That's awesome.
So the only pushback I have against like the Seahawks making the playoffs is they're going to be battling the Rams in the division. You're also having like teams like the Cowboys, Packers, and Bears for one of the 3 for one of the wild cards. I mean, it's going to be.
I think so.
Hard.
Here's the thing. I think the NFC South is terrible. So Panthers, Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers, those teams suck. I think they're terrible. I'm not worried about them. The Falcons would be the best one. They've had, they have a new coach. They have Kirk Cousins, obviously. The NFC East, I think the Commanders and Giants are not going to be better than the Seahawks.
Okay.
In the NFC North, I think the Lions and the Packers could be. I think people are all over the Bears and Caleb Williams. And I will just remind everyone that
he's a rookie quarterback.
Rookie quarterbacks don't win 11 games. I mean, maybe he will. Maybe he's that good, but and they are pretty loaded. Like their defense is really good. So the Bears are in the mix. I don't think the Vikings are in the mix with Sam Darnold. So then, you come to the Cardinals, who I think are solid, and the Rams. And I think the difference is Sean McVay owned Pete Carroll at the end. And Sean McVay, I would put number 1 in the league. I'd put him 1. I'd put Andy Reid 2. And that's probably blasphemy because Andy Reid's won 2 in a row. But Sean McVay is doing it with less. Like, he's incredible.
Yep.
And I just think it's going to be different with Mike McDonald's defense. I just don't think an old Matt Stafford and no Aaron Donald is going to be the same. And so I think the Seahawks will split with the Rams. I think they are going to go 2-0 to start the year. They're going to beat the Broncos and the Patriots. They're going to beat the Falcons. They're going to beat the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. They're going to beat the Vikings and the Bears. They'll at least split with the Cardinals. And I could see them pulling off a Niners win this year. Although let's say they don't. They still can get to 10 wins without beating the Niners.
All right.
So
we're making the playoffs.
I'm
like it.
Kev, I don't know. I don't think I'm an optimistic sports fan. Growing up in Seattle, it's hard to be.
Yeah.
I'm so optimistic about the Seahawks this year.
Yeah.
So my preview will not surprise people this weekend.
I loved your takes. I loved your reaction to these takes. I'm looking forward to your takes throughout the Seahawks season. It's good.
Let me just say one thing before we go to the top fives.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos have a bad roster. Like the Seahawks need to win this game, regardless of whether they're as good as I think they are. Like the Broncos are not good.
Do you think John Schneider's gonna knock on who's their GM? I don't know who their GM
John Elway? I have no idea.
Yeah, gonna go over and say, thank you for letting us take your lunch money with the Russell Wilson trade. That is incredible.
When Maffei's on one end rushing, and I think it's Draymond Jones.
Yeah.
No, who was the other guy they got from the trade? Anyway, on both ends, that'll be awesome.
And they're gonna sack Bo Nix.
Gonna be good.
It's great.
Kev, the Broncos by Pro Football Focus have a bottom 5 linebacker core and defensive line.
Yeah, are we going to be able to draw any conclusions? Are they going to be the Weaver State?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. God, I really am going to be so sad next Sunday if the Seahawks lose that game.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to top 5. So my top 5. This is you're older than me, and I don't know how excited you are about this, but they announced today that the Seahawks will be wearing their throwback uniforms.
So exciting.
And something about just wearing something that hasn't been worn in a long time, makes it cool.
They wore them last year.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So it's not that long.
Okay. Well, you get my point.
Yes. Okay. Retro is cool. Everybody loves retro. Everybody loves retro.
Retro is cool. Okay. So in the 90s, by the way, I was born in 1992, so I lived through some of this. I'm not that young. There were 16 different Seahawks starting quarterbacks. Can you name in the 90s from 1990 to 1999? Can you name 5 of them?
100% I can.
Okay.
Ready?
Go for it. Yeah.
Rick Meyer.
Yeah. Can you name, let's make it a little harder. Can you name at least one of the years that they played in?
Well, Rick Meyer was drafted in 1990, so I'd say 1991 or 92.
No.
I'm off. No, he's drafted in 93. Drafted in 93, played in 94. Before that was Dan McGuire.
Yeah.
Drafted in 1990.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan McGuire from San Diego State.
Which was interesting because he only started one game.
Did you know that was Mark McGuire's brother?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
We had Mark McGuire's brother on the team.
Yeah.
And Mark McGuire early 90s was shredding it for the Oakland
sure
A's.
I didn't make that up, but it's possible.
Okay, so we got Rick Meyer, we got Dan McGuire. Dan
How about Warren Moon?
Warren Moon, 1997.
I was going to say 97. You didn't let me say it. God.
97, 98. I thought he was older.
He was really old when he came to the Seahawks.
Yeah, so he played.
It was exciting though.
He played in the CFL before he came to the Seahawks.
It was exciting because they were coming off of the Rick Meyers and the Dan McGuires, and did Kelly Stauffer play in the 90s?
Yes.
That's bad. Okay. So
what
Kelly
year?
Stauffer. Well, he would have been. I think he was before Meyer, after McGuire. So 91, 92 or
91
right?
and 92.
Okay.
And he played in 1989. And 1988. So
yeah, he was a backup and then he was a starter. He was bad.
Man, they carried 3 quarterbacks back in the day, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, which brings me to, I know this guy started at some point in the 90s. Oh, I'm going to go for it. Brock Heward. Brock Heward started in the late 90s.
Brock Heward, no, 2000.
Oh, okay. I got a strike.
Started 4 games in 2000.
I got a strike. Okay, I got to focus now. So I got Meyer, Stauffer, McGuire, and Moon. Stan Gelbaugh.
Yes.
I have played a lot of, I think it's called Sporcle. the quiz game.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of Husky or Seahawk quarterbacks. But this was my youth, Kev. This is me going to the Kingdom and watching atrocious Seahawk football. These quarterbacks sucked.
This
They were
is
so
interesting.
bad.
Yeah. So Galba started 8 games in 92.
Yep.
And then he stayed with the team all the way till 1996.
And then I think he went to the Chargers and started for them.
Yeah. Let me throw some other names at you.
Okay. Well, I think I might be able to do more, but you go.
Yeah, go for it. Tell me who else you got.
Well, this is tricky. The end of the 90s is tricky because Meyer goes away. Moon comes. But there's a couple people in between who are pretty bad. I can't remember. Go ahead.
Okay, so 1999, John Kitna.
Oh,
15
Kitna.
starts. And then
I thought Kitna was going to be the man.
more weird names. Glenn Foley. This sounds like insurance
I think
agents.
Glenn Foley was in the Eagles.
John Freeze.
John Freeze. Yeah, John Freeze from Idaho.
4
he played
games.
for the Chargers starting quarterback for a little bit.
Yeah. So
shout out Vandals.
And then Dave Craig.
He was in the 90s still?
1990 and 1991.
Yeah. All-time leader in fumbles in NFL history when he retired.
Yeah.
So shout out to Dave Craig. So funny enough, my top 5 for you is Broncos quarterbacks.
Oh God.
So this is more recent.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is fun, I think. So you're looking for the Broncos quarterback with the most starts. Obviously, Bo Nix is starting this year, which will be interesting, right? He's a Duck. He's coming back to Seattle. First start. Yeah. So who are the last quarterbacks for the Broncos with the most starts? I think they started the opener also, but I can't say that.
So per season. So
yes,
like
per season. So
like you'll Russ.
So Russ is the last 2 years, right? So that'll count. So we'll give you those 2. So you just have to come up with 3. Okay. So Russ is the last 2 seasons. He started 15 games both years. Okay. 2021, this guy started 14 games.
Give me some hints,
okay.
dude.
He wears 2 gloves when he plays football. And he's a quarterback. He went to the University of Louisville. He's still in the NFL.
Dude.
Teddy
Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is
Teddy
so
2 gloves.
I didn't even know he played for the Broncos. I know he played for the Vikings.
So he started 14 games in 2021. 2020, this guy started 13 games, and you should know him quite well.
It's not Drew Lock.
It is Drew Lock, baby. Nailed it. Drew Lock.
Okay, so 3.
Okay, so you have one more. 2019, this guy started 8 games for the Broncos, and he is relevant still. He was really relevant end of last NFL season, and he's very old. And I forgot he played for the Broncos, but he was their most started QB in 2019.
Josh McCown?
Nope. Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco played for them?
I know, right? So their last 5 years have been Russell Wilson for 2, Bridgewater, Locke, Flacco. Yeah. And then it's Case Keenum and Trevor Siemian the 2 years before that. And then it was Peyton Manning for their kind of glory days.
Yeah.
So they've had a rough, because Russ was supposed to be, okay, we're back. And Russ did not work out, to say the least.
I just want to say one last point about that trade. I think John Schneider, like when he won that trade, he bought himself like 10 more years as a Sox GM. Like this could have gone really off the rails with like keeping him happy, Carroll aging out. Like it just, they pulled the button. He pressed the button at the right time to get that return. Man, that's my rave. That's my rave.
It's wild. That's a great rave. It's wild to think that if 3 years ago, you would have said to me, hey, the Seahawks in 3 years will not have Russell Wilson or Pete Carroll.
And will be optimistic.
And you will think they're going to be the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just me.
Yeah, I was so against that trade. I was like, why are they trading away a good quarterback? This is idiotic, but not anymore.
It's Geno season, baby.
Yep. All right, we'll close here.
Yep.
Give you a preview of what's coming out.
Yeah.
Coming out with the next set of our top 100. We have 30 through 21 coming out, and these guys are all people that people know.
Yep.
So the names are recognizable, and I think the debates are going to start to fire up a little bit here.
People love that list. It's our most viewed posts every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
People read it. Husky previews coming out, Eastern Michigan. Power rankings, a game preview, game picks. I got to see how I did this past week.
Oof. It was good, Kev. I don't know.
I know the UCLA Hawaii game was bad.
Yeah.
And also an opponent Q&A. So we tracked down a writer that covers Eastern Michigan, and they'll give us some inside scoop. So that's coming out for the Huskies, and we got Seahawks.
Yep. Seahawks preview coming out with some NFL picks at the end as well. And Bo Nix is going to struggle, and we're going to be happy. We're going to have a Husky win to talk about. We're going to have a Seahawk win to talk about, and we're going to have 6 Mariners wins to talk about next Sunday, Kev.
All right. See you guys next week.